Speculation Thursday doesn't sleep, gentlemen.
Reckless speculation.
Reckless Speculation Thursday on a Friday here on Mackey and Judd. Daily Minnesota sports entertainment, and we want titles. And you guys will have to tell me how much you buy into Jimmy Hayes on Twitter. Who is Jimmy Hayes, by the way?
I'm going to let Declan tell you because I was not familiar until I saw this.
He's got a blue check
I
mark.
wasn't. Yeah, I mean, actually, speaking of blue check marks, old friend of the show, Duncan Goldberg, was the one who tipped me off to Jimmy Hayes' tweet. And Jimmy Hayes is a podcast host or a professional hockey player with the Missing Curfew podcast.
Okay.
So it's Shane O'Brien, Scotty Upshaw, and Jimmy Hayes, and they have their podcast has 6,000 followers on Twitter.
Okay.
He's got 39,000 followers on Twitter. Some decent, prominent NHL people follow him. Craig Custance follows him.
All right, so he's
Twitter
verified.
He's verified
Blue
on
check
Twitter.
mark, and a couple NHL guys follow him.
Former Wild great Ryan Donato follows him on Twitter, so he
And-
definitely must be plugged in.
And I will say this, O'Brien is co-host of a show on NHL Network Radio on Sirius
Okay.
quite a bit, so he has some credibility. Like
Yeah.
Okay,
he's,
so now
he's
that
out
we've
there.
established full credibility here,
Yeah.
Yep.
Jimmy
like we-
Hayes tweets,
like we care.
rumors starting to swirl, 3 exclamation points. Billy Guerin, and the Wild are looking to land Jack Eichel, and it might be by tomorrow.
Reckless speculation.
This was sent yesterday at 3:08 p.m., and tomorrow would be now today as we sit here on this Friday. So I guess, I mean, there's been all sorts of Wild and Eichel linkage and talk. How much could this happen this quickly? And Judd is now on the record saying, I would not do this. There's too many risks. I'm out. So if they did this, are you going to criticize them? Like, what's your stance on this? If they
Completely depends on what the return to Buffalo is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if they somehow finagle a deal that does not involve Fiala
Koivu?
and they
Drummondville?
and Niederreiter,
Over to
Suter,
Spurgeon.
Draft
over,
pick goes wide.
over to Kuba, over to Sekaresh into Dowd. If they find a way to make a trade that doesn't start with Fiala and involves draft picks and maybe I don't know whom, I probably wouldn't criticize them as much. I have serious, as I've told you, reservations about the neck procedure that might need to be done that could sideline him for quite some time in a season in which the Wild is going to have expectations that are going to be high, and they should be. I have concerns about Eichel off the ice in the room for a team that's tried to clear up that culture. There's things about him that I have questions about.
But Billy seems in tune with that stuff.
Yes.
And he's apparently
Pursuing
dismissing it.
I'm just telling you, I have
I don't care what your concerns.
Billy and I don't have to be on the same page constantly. Just because we're friends doesn't mean that we have to be on the same page constantly. And the last thing about this is I just wonder as well, salary cap wise, because I know that the team has a lot of cap room for the 2021-22 campaign. I get a little bit concerned with Eichel's salary after that on a cap that's going to be incredibly tight, and you're going to have to get creative there as well. So those are the things that I have questions about. I do not think a deal goes down today. If it's going to go down, I don't think it does.
The NHL draft is today. Trades tend to happen on the NHL draft on this Friday, that is July 23rd.
Wouldn't you want the capital that comes tonight? You wouldn't want those picks for next year. You'd want that capital now, right?
There's Wild have five picks, in the first 90 picks of the draft. I believe like they're one of 2 teams that has that luxury. And 3 picks overall in the first round of these next 2 drafts. So there's plenty of capital at play. I'm with Judd. I don't want to mortgage completely the farm for Jack Eichel with the question marks around his mostly his neck injury. I'm putting aside the locker room issue. If Billy Guerin is doing the vetting process, I trust Billy. He could be wrong, but I trust Bill Guerin's judgment there. I would not trust Paul Fenton's judgment necessarily in that. I wouldn't even trust Chuck Fletcher's judgment in that. But I know Bill Guerin knows what it takes to win, so I'm putting the character issue aside for the most part. If you can get this for the right price, I'm in. I mean, and it would create an insane amount of buzz. He's the number 1 center that this team has lacked its entire franchise history. And if you get Eichel, you can sign Kaprizov. Here you go, Kirill. Here is now, I know you wanted the 3-year deal, but here is their number 1 center. You no longer have to play with Ryan Hartman next season. You have Jack Eichel to play with next season. So I do think this is
But
bubbling.
when do you have him to play with? January, February? That's the problem.
Yeah, the neck is
The neck gums up everything to me.
If he wants to, if there are worse things than him coming back in February. Like if you're going to tell me he's going to miss the whole season, all right, that's a problem.
But if he
he's
comes
gonna
back
come
in February,
for 2 months of a regular season stretch run,
right? But then there's going to be a ramp up once he gets back to even probably, if he can do it, getting close to being the player that he can be, which should be a superstar in season. And it's go time. You've got the ability to win now. You need to make moves. I don't want to be making moves after what they've done. I don't want to be making moves for when I am cap poor.
Here's another question I have for you, because I think, let's talk about the locker room stuff, because I think that's a big deal. I mean, they determined that Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, I'm going to stop short of saying cancers, because I think that's a little aggressive, but those guys didn't exactly create
Lesions?
the best. It was very cliquey.
Yes.
And it was and there are I don't know how much reporting will be done on this, but there are a lot of instances that I think we can confirm where Ryan Suter and Zach Parise weren't always in line necessarily with what coach, front office were doing and thinking, and that created some divide in the room. So I get that we just sort of got done cleansing that, so to speak, a couple weeks ago. But Buffalo has been one of the train wreck franchises in the NHL. They haven't made the playoffs in a decade in a sport where it's really, really hard to not make the playoffs once in 10 years.
Yep.
And even when they've made the last time they were relevant going to the conference finals was 2007. And so they've bounced around. They've had a new coach every year, 2 years. They're basically the Cleveland Browns up until this last year of the NHL, the last 10 or 15 years. So how much of it is the stain of the organization sort of coming off on Eichel, and now he's being branded as a bad room guy versus, no, he's just part of a train wreck organization, and once you get him out of that organization and put him in an organization that knows what they're doing a lot more in Minnesota, then he's not going to have the stigma of being a bad leader or a bad room guy.
So that is the question, because if you remove him from Buffalo, does that change things? I've talked to people who know a lot more about the Sabres than I do, and all of them are fairly convinced that there could be some problems. And that's all I need to hear at that price tag and that expectation. That there would be that there have been issues that go well beyond poor Jack Eichel is stuck with this bad team. But full disclosure, if he didn't have the neck and you could trade for him tonight and he could step in on opening night with no problems, I might take that chance. So to me, this is a confluence of things that scare me off. It's not just one thing. It starts with the neck. It's him off the ice as well. And again, it's your circumstance, you guys. I mean, look at where this team is. Look at where Bill Guerin has set this team up to be this coming season. And then look at the cap problems in the next 2 years. There is a window of opportunity here that's enormous. And I think that you need to make moves where you go into opening night next year with full plans that you can make realistically too. So not just pie in the sky. Of course we can make a run. That you can make a run to the Stanley Cup. I think you need to have that in place. And picking up a guy who might have a surgery still that, by the way, supposedly no one else in this league has ever had. Do I really want to take that gamble? At the price tag? I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm still out.
All right. Dex, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think Buffalo is a disastrous organization. I told Judd when we first started having these conversations, in the middle of this past season, that they're dumb and they could do something dumb. Now they're asking for the moon for Jack Eichel.
And it's a new GM too, so he's going to be smarter than the previous one who was an idiot.
But this ownership and the entire group is just fools. Casey Middlestead was a big whiff by them, a former Gopher. He looks like he's going to be a bust. They traded away your guy Ryan O'Reilly for a bag of pucks, who then went on to be maybe the heart and soul now of the St. Louis Blues.
Botterill did, yeah.
They acquired Taylor Hall and alienated him so much that he goes to Boston and becomes Taylor Hall again. They're dumb. And I could see them doing something dumb again, like giving up Jack Eichel for peanuts. Not peanuts, but something not as substantial.
I don't see it. Their GM now, might not be perfect, but he is not going to do that.
He signed Jeff Skinner. They signed Jeff Skinner to that
was
horrible
Botterill,
contract.
though. That's the previous guy that got blown out.
Well, until they prove to me that new ex-GM is actually competent, I'm going to assume that this organization has no idea what they're doing. So I do think they're going to possibly screw this up with the benefit of the wild side.
And it could happen today.
And it could happen.
I mean, it's great
today.
reckless speculation.
Speculation.
It's fantastic reckless speculation.
It is. And that reckless speculation powered in part by our friends at Federated. Nothing reckless about Federated. They've been helping business owners in the state of Minnesota for over 100 years, based in Owatonna. They're one of us. They support local sports teams. They support Gophers athletics and also Big Brothers Big Sisters, a great charitable organization. And they'll help your business maximize its potential, minimize risk, and they'll just help you sleep better at night as a business owner. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours.